Good morning, it's Deborah from Embody Nature, and I am a trauma and emotional regulation coach, and I help people break free of the emotional patterns and help them become calm, connected, and in control of their life. So I'm here today to talk about the fight isn't the problem. So welcome if this is your first time. I love having people here. Drop a hi, a like, a thumb up. Let me know that you're here. You can drop any questions in the comments as well. If you're returning, I love connecting with you over and over again. This is just great to have you along, and I love learning alongside you in this world of relationships. And so we're talking today about the 6 human needs, I guess, really looking at what are the hidden needs that drive our reactions, your partner's reactions, and the patterns that we can't seem to break. So what if some of the arguments you're having in your relationship isn't actually about the thing you're arguing about? You might argue about how much time you spend together, how often the partner goes out. It might be things like money. It might be things like sex or kids, or how we do the housework, things about phone and scrolling and really just feeling ignored, how people speak to you, how much affection they show to you, and how much you really want. And you know, you can spend hours trying to figure out all these things, but what if underneath all of this there was something much deeper, that if we worked on that, all the other things would flow so much better? So we're looking at our needs. And look, I've really been curious about this lately, because what I've realized the more I'm spending in this space and the more I'm learning in my own life is what I think are my needs. And even when I'm learning how to name and identify what my needs are in the space, sometimes I'm actually realizing there's another layer behind that. There's almost the need behind the need. So I'm really going to unpack that with you today to get an understanding of what the needs are, but then also what's driving them and what patterns are really pushing those particular needs. Because underneath our behavior, there's often something that we're trying to get or protect. And today I want to introduce 6 fundamental human needs that can have a huge impact on relationships. And I'm not going to teach you how to fix all of this today, because that is much deeper work. But I want to start, bringing this up so you can see this in your relationships through a completely different lens. So why this matters: we all have needs, and we don't have the same needs at the same intensity. And this becomes really interesting because in relationships, we often assume if you loved me, you would need the same things that I need. And in fact, you would actually know what I need and just respond to those needs. And I'd never have to feel, hard emotions, because you will have anticipated that for me and stepped into that space automatically. But that's not necessarily true. You might experience love through closeness, and your partner might experience it through having, a sense of freedom. You might need reassurance, and your partner might need space. You might need appreciation. And look, appreciation, even the need of appreciation can look different. Some people's needs for words of affirmation could look really different. One partner might need to just have someone assure them, I see you, I value you. And the other person just wants to know, deep down, they just want to feel this connection. So it can be 2 different needs behind the same thing. So it's really, really interesting to drill down and almost create a map of what's going on for you and what's going on for your partner. And none of these differences are wrong. They're just different. But here is where this gets more interesting. Our childhood experiences can influence what needs become really important to us. So certainty is the first need. The need to feel safe, the need to know what's happening, to know where you stand, and to know we're okay. Thanks for the love. So nice to see you. People who experience inconsistency, have unpredictable childhoods, experience abandonment, they might become really sensitive to predictability. Hi, Zach. And they may want the plans. They may want to find, they might actually experience emotional distance as real difficulty. And sometimes, they might it might look like, why do you always need to know where I am? The other partner might see this as like they're being controlling. But really the person's trying to say, I need to just feel safe. The second need is variety. So that need for that novelty and that stimulation, that excitement and change. And some people thrive on this, on adventure, on new experiences, travel, spontaneity, change, and others find it completely overwhelming. And we might even find in our own lifetime, there's certain times, I know when I was younger, I was all about adventure. And now that I'm getting older and I've got kids, I'm a bit more grounded and just really love my home comforts. But if you particularly grew up in chaos, you may crave predictability. Or if you grew up in a highly controlled environment, you might desperately seek that freedom. So what one person experiences exciting might feel really unsafe for the other person. So the third need we're looking at is significance, that need to feel I matter, I'm important, and I'm seen. So this can show up in relationships as wanting appreciation, acknowledgement, recognition, or respect. And imagine someone who grew up feeling really invisible and not being seen. That partner doesn't notice, and if their partner doesn't notice what they've done and they don't see their significance, it could be really challenging for me. So internally for that person, something much bigger is going on inside me. They're feeling like you don't see me. And this can create a really big feeling of disconnection for them and a really big sense of not safety in the space. And suddenly the argument isn't really about the dishes, it's about significance. Do I matter to you? The fourth need is love and connection. So this is that need to belong, to feel close, to feel loved, and I guess to feel that emotional connection. And this one is huge in our relationships because one person's version of connection can look completely different to another's. One person might want more affection, more talking, more quality time, or more physical touch. Another might feel deeply connected by simply being beside their partner doing their own thing. And when those needs don't match, both people can end up feeling really misunderstood and really lacking that connection. The fifth one is growth. So that need to learn, to evolve, and to become more. So some people feel most alive when they're growing. And I know this is a big need for me. Every time I learn something beautiful happens in my soul and I feel really connected with who I am on the inside. And I think that's why I love sitting in this space, because I'm learning as I'm teaching and growing, as we're all growing together. So, we love learning. We might set goals, challenge ourselves. We're really focused on that changing and improvement. And I guess this can create tension in relationships. One partner might think, why can't you just be happy with what you've got? While the other thinks, why don't you want to grow with me again? So no one is right or wrong in this space. They're just prioritizing different needs in this space. Need number 6 is contribution, that need to give, and guess that need to matter beyond ourselves. And some would argue that this is that core need inside us, that need to find our purpose, to make a difference or to care for others. And this can show up beautifully in relationships and in families, but there can also be a shadow side of this. Someone who gets a lot of their sense of worth from contributing may become the person who does everything, and eventually I do everything around here and nobody appreciates me. It might not just be about the housework. It might be about, I need to know what I give matters. And absolutely, I think the most powerful part of this story is realizing that the need that you were trying to get met on the surface wasn't actually the deepest need underneath. So let's explore the need underneath the need. So for a while, I thought I needed more connection, more affection, more intimacy, and more physical closeness. And I found myself reaching for it, wanting it, and asking for it. And when it wasn't getting it in the way that I wanted, I started questioning myself, like, am I too much? Am I being needy? Am I being too demanding? And why do I want this so much? And so then what I would do is I'd shut that part of me down. So I'd realize, me wanting to be needed and wanted sexually was something that made other people feel uncomfortable. So then I just sort of shut that side of me down so that couldn't, I couldn't upset someone. So I'd actually shut down my own needs to be seen, to be valued, to be desired down so that nobody could see that. And then I could just get on. If my needs aren't being, if I'm shutting down that need, it doesn't matter that it's not being met, but the desire is still there. And when we have a desire for something, we can't really switch that off. So recently I realized something. The need that I was trying to get met wasn't actually the deepest need. So on the surface, I wanted connection and intimacy, but underneath there was something that was far more vulnerable. I wanted to be wanted. I wanted to be pursued, and I wanted to feel attractive. I wanted to feel chosen, and I wanted to feel like, someone looked at me and thought, I want you and I want to be close to you and I can't wait for it. And when this wasn't happening, it wasn't just the lack of like physical intimacy that hurt me. It sort of touched something much deeper inside of me. I started feeling sort of unloved, unsexy, unwanted, and kind of confused. And instead of recognizing that deeper need, I just initially thought I just need more connection. So I kept reaching for the thing that I thought would make me feel better. But what I was really longing for underneath it was to be seen, to be valued, to be desired, and to feel really important to somebody. And I think that's something we often miss when we're trying to understand the needs, is we focus on the behavior we want from someone else. I need more affection. I need you to call me more. I need sex. I need that reassurance. But I guess sometimes there's something deeper emotionally that beyond that need, underneath that request. And when we don't understand that deeper need, we can keep asking for those surface behaviors without ever really feeling satisfied. So hands up there if you feel like you're chasing and you're not getting what you need. And I can guarantee you that is because maybe, you are chasing the wrong thing. So you're chasing that wrong need. Because what we're actually longing for isn't the kiss. It's what the kiss represents. It's that you want me. It's not just that reassurance. It's that I matter to you. And it's just not that time together. It's that you choose me. And this has been such a powerful reminder to me that understanding our needs requires us to become curious about what is underneath them. Because sometimes the question isn't just, what do I want them to do? It's what do I want to feel? There's a distinction there, okay? And the question can change everything, because having needs doesn't make us needy. Wanting to feel loved doesn't make us too much. And wanting to feel desired doesn't make us demanding. So sometimes we simply need to get honest enough with ourselves to discover what our heart has actually been asking for all along. All right, so which one of these landed the strongest for you? Is there a need that you find comes up for you a lot? Pop a chat, pop something in the chat if you want, or just, grab your journal and really just note down those needs and where you find you might be either triggered or just feeling that you're lacking, or it's an area where it just seems to be coming up for you over and over again. And I guess what happens when this need isn't being met, because this is where our relationship patterns can begin. So when we don't feel safe, significant, connected, or free, we don't always say, I'm experiencing an unmet need. Instead, we might become critical, we might become defensive, angry, or withdrawn. Sometimes we try to protect ourselves from these feelings by actually just backing away from people. I know in my own world, when I'm feeling that sort of disconnection and my need for feeling that love and being seen and needed and wanted comes up, I actually almost put my walls up then and just go, oh, fuck you then. I can get those needs met somewhere else, there's stuff that automatically wants to come up. But when we can actually acknowledge that, we can actually turn and go, well, how am I not meeting those needs in myself? Because we can't always rely on that other person to meet those needs. We actually have to step into that space ourselves first. And I find this is when I have the most successful kind of times is when I go, right, what's the need I need to have met here? And then first I try to see, how can I meet that need myself, or in what ways am I stopping myself from meeting that need? Or how am I abandoning myself in what I'm currently doing? And sometimes it can be as simple as I'm people pleasing and trying to fit somebody else's agenda, instead of just actually going, what I really need right now is to meditate and go for a run and do the things that make me feel whole. And then those needs, then I can approach the person and ask for those needs in a way where I've already got my needs half met myself. And I feel like in those moments, that's when the ask seems to be met so much more commonly, where you can actually just lean in and the other person isn't wanting to lean away from you. So instead of showing these behaviors of becoming critical, controlling, demanding, clingy, or distant, I'd love you to just step into just questioning yourself and ask yourself, what is underneath this behavior? So now, this is the reason I talk so much about trauma, attachment, and the nervous system when I talk about relationships, because your reactions aren't necessarily random. So your brain and nervous system have been learning about relationships since you were very young. You learn, is the world safe? Can I trust people? Will people stay? Do I matter? Will my needs be met? And do I have to look after everybody else? Because nobody's here to look after myself. So, and those early experiences can influence what you seek and what you fear in adult relationships. So someone with a history of abandonment that may have a really strong need for certainty. Someone who felt invisible when they were a child might have a particularly strong need for significance as an adult. And someone who had to care for everyone else might place an enormous importance on contribution. And sometimes what we think is just our personality is actually an adaptation. And that's a really important distinction for you. So the next time you find yourself in an argument with your partner, or you're just feeling like, I'm really triggered here, something's gone on for me here, I'm not having my needs met, and something is really making me feel really wobbly, I want you to pause. I want you to pause, not to fix it, not to figure out who's right, but simply to become curious. What is this really about? What am I needing right now? What might my partner be needing in the way that they're responding to me? So being curious about them as well, because sometimes in the argument on the surface is only the tip of the iceberg, and underneath is much more vulnerable human need. And when we begin to understand that, we stop seeing our partner as the enemy, we start seeing the pattern, and that is where the real work begins. So your partner isn't necessarily trying to give you a hard time. They might be trying to get a need met, and you may be doing exactly the same thing, and that is where it gets really tricky. So if this has made you curious about your own relationship patterns, this is exactly the kind of deeper work that I do in my NTT and relationship programs. So if something clicked for you today, if you want to know more and understand your relationship pattern and realize that it's only the beginning, not the end. So knowing why you react the way you do is incredibly powerful, but knowing why isn't always going to change the pattern. That's the deeper work I do with couples and individuals in this space. So helping you understand the trauma, your attachment patterns, unmet needs, and the nervous system responses underneath your relationship struggles. And then that things actually begin to change. And my clients, things have been happening for all of them. There's been changes significantly, first in the way that they're seeing themselves and how they're able to show up in their relationships. So if you're tired of having the same arguments, feeling disconnected, or wondering why you keep getting triggered by the person that you love most, don't just keep trying harder, because get curious about what's underneath it. If you really want to create different kind of relationships, send me a message. You can pop the word relationship in if you want, or just say hi, and I'll tell you how we can work together. So there's a lot that I've talked about today. Needs are incredible. Just understanding that you have them can really just change everything. And then working out how to communicate them is the second step, and we will address that another day. So thanks for coming along. It's been great to have you, and I will see you next week. Bye.